On behalf of the Institute of Medicine and Law, I take this opportunity to welcome all the dignitaries here today. Let me start with first inviting Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji, please. May I now invite upon stage Dr. B.D. Athani sir. I also invite Dr. Imran and Dr. D.R. Rai sir. I invite Dr. Geetika to honor the gentleman on the dais with a floral bouquet. Dr. Geetika, please. I now invite our Honorary Director, Advocate Mr. Mahendra Bajpayee, to kindly initiate the proceedings.
Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji, Dr. Anthani, Dr. Rai, and Dr. Imran. And my dear colleagues. 2 weeks back, we held the first part of this event. The National Convention on Medicine and Law. Thought leaders amongst doctors, hospital administrators, advocates, they were present there. They discussed, they deliberated on certain issues of concern. Consensus was arrived on certain aspects, and on some aspects, as usual, there was no consensus. The Honorable Chairperson of the Law Commission of India, Justice Balbir Singh Chauhan, was present at the event. Former Health Minister of the Union of India, Dr. Ambumani Ramados, was also there. What are we trying to do? Obviously, this whole exercise intends to find out the shortcomings in the legal and regulatory structure of our country. A very humble initiative. This was the second year, and today we will be releasing the white paper. Very briefly, I will take you through the recommendations of the various sessions that were held and the recommendations thereof. Transplantation of human organs today happens to be the most talked about aspect of medicine. In fact, before the Mumbai event, a Chamber of Commerce had invited me and respected Dr. Johri, chairperson of the Law Commission, just 3 days before the Mumbai event, and we had deliberations on transplant. It is so very important. So we had one session dedicated to transplant. Few recommendations. The first one was that the government must enact a law for uniform determination of death. Today, the Transplantation of Human Organs Act does speak about death. But if you ask me as a lawyer, this being a special act, the definition of of death would remain within the four corners of transplantation and not beyond that. So one of the recommendations was that why does the government of India not enact a uniform determination of death act in the way the United States has enacted one. Death certificates need to be uniform. Today, for brain stem death patients, something extra is required. One aspect that was raised was that brain stem death certification should not be made mandatory. This was debated. That let us make identification of brain death mandatory in India, so that hospitals and doctors identify and declare patients who are brain stem dead. This will ensure two things. One, it will certainly facilitate organ transplant. Number two, patients who are otherwise dead and are occupying ventilators and ICUs, they will be declared dead, and but the consensus was that as of today, such a mandatory provision is not required. doctors were apprehensive and in fact spoke about the PCPNDT Act and the trouble faced by doctors there. Another aspect was that even after a person fills Form 7 and donates the organs, but even after that, when there is brainstem death, the hospital has to again go back to the relatives and ask for another consent, whether such a consent is necessary. And again, the consensus was that yes, ultimately it is donation. Family does matter in India, and reconsent of the patient's family should be taken. There is a concept of donation after circulatory death prevalent in the Western countries. A person who is on ICU, who is critical, who is on ventilator, is disconnected from the ventilator for 60 minutes or 90 minutes. And if within that span he dies, his organs obviously are donated. Again, the delegates did deliberate on this and could not arrive at a consensus. One suggestion was that instead of opt-out, which is the present practice, why don't we go in for opt-in? I'm sorry. Opt-in is the present practice. Why don't we go in for opt-out? So that all those who have not opted out of organ donation, it should be presumed that they have given consent for organ donation. Volunteering should be incentivized. One very good suggestion which came, and again we drew inference from Israel, where someone who has donated organs, he is given priority in receiving human organs. And there was some dispute on how much time the doctors must wait before retrieving organs after circulatory death, and unanimously 10 minutes should be the time. That was unanimously decided. Again, it's for the regulatory body and the lawmakers to come out with the requisite clarifications. My apologies to Dr. Johri. He should have been here for these two slides. We had a session on HIV. Today in India, any person who is tested for HIV, consent has to be taken. One question that was raised is if the person does not give consent, universal precaution has to be taken. And for a poor country like India, why should we waste resources on something as universal precautions? Let there be compulsory testing. Various aspects were discussed, and ultimately the House came to the conclusion that no, consent is required. It makes the patient more informed, especially in an illiterate country like India. However, this consent should be preceded by pre-test counseling and followed by post-test counseling. Mandatory provisions could be made. Mandatory testing of HIV, therefore, should not be done. HIV patients today are not given insurance cover. The life expectancy of HIV patient today has come to around 25 years, as good as the patient of any chronic disease. Much more than that, doctors treating HIV patients are not given professional indemnity by insurance company. And in spite of IRDA coming up with the suggestions, with recommendations. In fact, first the IRDA came out with recommendation, after that IRDA has given strict guidelines. Yet the insurance companies are not coming out with the professional indemnity. for doctors practicing in HIV, with a compensation of 12 crores today, this dissuades practice of HIV. HIV couples are not permitted to adopt children, even after the science been so clear that it cannot be transmitted to the child. There is an old judgment of the Bombay High Court, and somehow that judgment has gone to each and every corner of this country, and they are not been permitted. Mandatory testing of adoptive children, the House came to a consensus it should be continued for the benefit of the child, no other purpose. We had an interesting session on dermatology, and it transpired that the worst hit by quackery, the worst hit by interdisciplinary practice were dermatologists. Today, gynecologists, dental surgeons, leave aside homeopaths and allopaths, everyone is a cosmetologist. So, obviously, banning, regulating, defining terms and privileging specialities such as cosmetology and aesthesiology were recommended. One problem that dermatologists face, and in fact every branch of medicine faces, is standard SOPs. Unfortunately, in India, we don't have a standard place, a repository where we can find these SOPs. So the suggestion was either the regulator or some government body comes up with a place where all the SOPs made by associations, obviously the national associations, prominent associations, SOPs made by the government of India, they should be kept at a place, and this will help not only the doctors, not only the patients, but also to courts in coming at a proper decision. Off-label use of drugs today does not seem to be regulated. Irrational combination of drugs, again, was a cause of concern. For dermatologists, production, advertisement, and sale of cosmetics having active pharmacological ingredients was a concern, and the consensus was that it should either be strictly regulated or banned. One aspect that was raised, that while getting CME points, there is no preference given to a doctor attending CME of his own specialty. A doctor can attend CME as he wishes of any specialty, he will get those 2 marks. And obviously within a period of 5 years, he has to get those 30 marks. So the suggestion was that while allotting CME points to doctors, the relevance of the topic issue should also be taken into account rather than only taking the man hours spent in the CME. So though it was a session of dermatologists, most of the issues that were discussed and deliberated were applicable across the specialities. Intensivists, their foremost concern was living wills, advance directives, DNR instructions. The terminally ill patient's bill has come, and very clearly it seems that the policymakers are not inclined to give any acceptance to living wills and advance directives. so very necessary for a country like India. Again, intensivists do find themselves at the receiving end when they inform end-of-life decisions to the family. If some sort of a compulsion, some sort of a guideline could come where an intensivist has to compulsorily inform the patient's attendants within a stipulated time of end-of-life situations, it will make things easier. Withholding and withdrawing life support always has been a cause of concern. Refusing treatment, especially when the patient is unable to communicate and the patient's attendants and relatives want to refuse treatment, the doctor has only one equipment with him, and that is to write down in the medical records that the patient's relatives, they have refused treatment. Nothing more than that. Why can't we have a treatment refusal form? Statutorily prescribed, either the regulator prescribes it or through guidelines coming from the Ministry of Health. You have a form, if you don't want care, your relative, you fill it, and you can take the patient. Instead of, and obviously it could be in addition to the discharge against medical advice forms which usually all the hospitals have. One cause of concern obviously was where the patient comes in and the doctor knows that yes, I will not be able to save this patient. Futility of care. Some rights should be given. Some deliberation is required on this, but some sort of a right, some privileges should be given to the doctors to refuse treatment of such patients. Valuable resources obviously could be made available for more needy and treatable patients. One suggestion was that mandatory end-of-life committee or end-of-life assessor should be there in each hospital. Accreditations of ICUs by NABH and NABL. That was again one we welcome Dr. Ravindra Pandula. He is a member of parliament from Andhra Pradesh and a doctor. Welcome him. I'll request Ravi to welcome with the bouquet of flowers. Thank you. In fact, in the Mumbai event, when Dr. Anbumani Ramadas was speaking, in the backdrop, there was a letter from the present health minister wishing us best wishes for the second national convention. So we had best wishes of the present health minister and a former health minister in some way associated with this. Coming back, we had a dedicated session on private hospitals. One cause of concerns for doctors is unauthorized recordings in hospitals, unauthorized video recording when the doctors are speaking amongst themselves, when the doctors are speaking with nurses. And today in courts, these are produced. Law in India is very clear. There are only two types of communications which are privileged. One, communication between husband and wife. Number two, communication of advocates with his client. Public policy, you will not speak with your advocates with open heart if that is not privileged. But I know there are more doctors here. Privileged communication means that that communication can never be brought into the court of law without the express permission of both the parties. Now, such a privilege needs to be given to communication of doctors with patient and some protection to doctors when they are not speaking with patients. Otherwise, it's becoming tough for doctors to deliver. Biggest problem, and obviously all of us face, we may be doctors, we may be advocates, we may be the Prime Minister. Media has a big role to play, and everyone is bothered about media. But the seeds of distrust that the media is sowing in a very sensitive issue like healthcare should be a cause of concern for everyone. So the national broadcasting policy or other regulatory bodies should come out with some guidelines for media as far as reporting of healthcare is concerned. There is great ununiformity in laws relating to drugs and narcotics substances. States change as we go from one district to other, the law is interpreted in its own way. In fact, Dr. Atul Shah was moderating that session, and I distinctly remember one sentence which he had said. Drug inspectors don't want to know law, and doctors don't know law. This is the problem. And it's so very apt. Doctors are being harassed, so let there be some uniformity in execution of the drugs and narcotic substances law. In Delhi, not far back, hospitals were hauled up for not providing enough beds for economically weaker sections. But who comes under that definition of EWS is still a cause of concern. In fact, many places, patients who can pay, they enroll themselves. Or a driver or a peon of a VIP, he is taken as a EWS patient. So some clarity is needed on that count. Hospitals again face a big problem in employing nurses and doctors. Nurses and doctors are registered under the State Medical Council. When they go to another state, they have to get themselves re-registered, and this is becoming a big headache. Why can't we have an online registration? Doctors, hospitals, they are ready to pay. The State Nursing Council, the State Medical Councils need not bother about that. It is not the money that is troubling, but the efforts that are put in. This is, then again, national policy on reuse of equipments, much needed. Next session was on public hospitals. It's a known fact that our doctors working in government hospitals, they are overworked, little resources. And then they have to face the Consumer Protection Act also. One suggestion that was given, but obviously good counsel prevailed and it was shut down, was that we should remove government outside the purview of the Consumer Protection Act. What was suggested by consensus by the House was that if the infrastructure is not good, if the doctors are overworked, then let not the doctors be penalized, the government has enough funds. Very clear amendment should come in the Consumer Protection Act, protecting the doctors working in government hospitals. Again, one suggestion that government hospitals could have a grievance redressal cell and it could be made mandatory. Again, this thing could come even from the courts as a guideline. Every big government hospital can have a grievance redressal cell. It should be prerequisite for the patient that before you approach the court, you go to that grievance redressal cell, and after that you have the liberty to go against the hospital, its doctors in a court of law. Friends, in 2008, the Supreme Court of India delivered the landmark judgment in Samira Kohli's case. And the Supreme Court said that in India, the law of informed consent as it exists in US is not applicable. It has to be real consent. We understand the educational, the literacy level, the social level of Indians. We don't want that complicated procedure. And friends, in the days and years to come thereafter, we are witnessing leniency in consent as far as courts are concerned. Now, let us apply this to government hospitals where patient load is far too much. Doctors don't have time, and then again you have at times bulky consent forms. Doctors don't have time to explain, counsel, and the patient does not have that maturity to understand. A suggestion was given, very commendable suggestion. Leaflets should be prepared procedure-wise. Small leaflets and a single-paged consent form, that's all. Name of the procedure, etc. should be written, take it. Rather than those very elaborate consent forms which even public hospitals are having. One problem, especially orthopedicians working in government hospitals face is the courts often order them, give us a disability certificate. The patient may have experienced accident 6 months back, 9 months back, but the court, because it wants to dispose of the matter quickly, asks the doctor, no, you give us a disability certificate. So, again, the house came to a conclusion that such a certificate could be given, but with a rider, that the final disability certificate will be given later on reassessment. Friends, we had a breakaway session on emergency medicine, which was dedicated to POSCO Act, Protection of Sexual Harassment of Child Act. First suggestion was that there is a need for a broad and comprehensive law for all kinds of child abuse, not only sexual abuse. Child is exploited, battered. Sexual abuse happens to be a very small part. Why can't we have a big comprehensive? Because ultimately, when a patient comes to doctor is not going to assess that patient child in isolation. Awareness, sensitization, educational was obviously, that was suggested. Even law enforcing agencies need to be made aware of this law. Suggestion was made that at least the regulatory body should introduce this law as a comprehensive subject in MBBS curriculum, because the doctors can go behind bars for 6 months. Problem in implementing these laws were that mandatory screening is not done by hospitals, need to do so. Again, PCPNDT Act also was brought into play here. Doctors are apprehensive about the way in which the PCPNDT Act is today implemented. And again, here a suggestion came that for minor errors, doctors should be dealt leniently. They should not land in jail for technical faults in reporting. And they should obviously be penalized only after internal inquiry. One lacuna that was pointed out by doctors' delegates was that categories of offenses are not defined. Their severity, their respective punishment, that has not been laid down properly. And format of reporting to police is also not prescribed. Police must be informed, that is all. Who should inform the police? If there is a mandatory form prescribed for reporting, perhaps that would be much better. Friends, these were all the breakaway sessions, 7 of them that we held. After that, we had 2 plenary sessions. We were to hold 4 plenary sessions, but we cut it short because of a shortcoming on our part, on the part of the organizers. It was 4th September and on 5th. It happens to be a big day in Mumbai. Ganpati comes in and celebrations were on right from 4th. So we were apprehensive that our delegates who have come, have spent the morning on deliberations, will not be able to reach back. 180 delegates from all corners of India were there. So we cut the plenary session short and we had only 2 very small plenary sessions. One was that there should be a law for ambulances. Again, the suggestion was that why only ambulance? Ambulance is a small part of emergency medical services. There should be a law for emergency medical services and ambulance should obviously be a part of that. Ambulance system should be regionalized, outcome and research driven, and accountability of the system must be ensured. Proper funding must obviously be ensured by the government so that this ambulances work. The second plenary session was that doctors should be expressly permitted to have their own websites. And this was very clearly directed to Medical Council of India. Bar Council of India has 1.5 years back come up with guidelines very clearly permitting advocates to have their own website. So it was said that if they can do, why can't doctors? And because the information for doctors is not available on website, are we not pushing our patients towards quacks? Friends, this was very brief presentation of the key recommendations that were done. We will be releasing the white paper where the discussions and the deliberations are there. And we will not be stopping here. This National Convention on Medicine and Law, this session happens to be the session for release of the white paper. After this session also, we will be having awareness meets in various parts of countries. We will be meeting a cross section of society, we will be meeting regulators, we will be meeting the policy makers. And today we have been promised support by the policy makers, by parliamentarians. So we will try to take these deliberations to the logical conclusion. Friends, with that, I will now request Dr. You have to move. Before that, sir, Ravi, can we have we'll release the white paper right now? 5 copies are needed here. Copies are needed here. Photographer. I request the dignitaries to please release the white paper. Sir, please. Dr. Gupta. Dr. Gupta. Sir, please. I welcome Dr. B.C. Gupta, member of the National Consumer Commission. Ma'am. I request Ravi to welcome you with flowers. I now request Dr. Ravindra Pandula to share his thoughts with us. No.
I spoke on MCA Act in the Parliament. I brought a CD of that. Good evening, friends. Good evening, doctors and lawyers, and the policy makers who are there on the table and dais. I spoke on this MCI Amendment Act, wherein NEET was discussed. I have already spoken about this introduction of need to have a paper on law, paper on ethics, paper on psychology, and various and valid reasons. I have explained in detail. You can watch me on YouTube. Instead of repeating it, it's already there in the YouTube. While introducing me, there was a small misdiagnosis, wrong diagnosis. I'm a doctor, MBBS, of course, and I was also IRS officer. I was a civil servant for 23 years. Dealt legal issues also. So now, parliamentarian from Lok Sabha, 16th Lok Sabha. I treat, he cures. This is a slogan I used to have on my table as a doctor. I treat, he cures. Patients used to ask me curiously, Doctor, iska matlab kya hai? I worked in Delhi only. I was in Handover hospital. I was in a casualty also for 3-4 years. That's why I readily agreed to come this law and medicine combination, medical legal cases. I used to treat lot of medical legal cases in the nights. Handover hospital must be aware of this. This hospital is located in a very dangerous place. A lot of abandoned patients, lot of abandoned refugees, or a lot of people with the maggots on the foot, diabetic foot, and a lot of gangrenous people. So many type of people used to come in the emergency ward in the nights. Police used to bring them down, bring them to the hospital, casualty, leave them there and disappear. So we used to struggle a lot. Let me start, if I am not boring you. When I passed intermediate, my father told me, you have to become a doctor. Then I asked him why. I am not made for a doctor because in medical profession, can I close this? In a medical profession, if I see the blood, I will get chakkar. If somebody is vomiting, I cannot eat food for 2 days. If somebody dead, lifelong it will haunt me. Or if somebody is dead under a wheel of a car or a lorry or a train or anything, that will be the last day of my life. Such were the apprehensions when I was told to become a doctor. Since he was adamant that I should become a doctor because doctor's tag carries a lot of social status, a lot of prestige, maybe above all a good bride, maybe a good dowry. You must have thought about it, all those things. You must have also thought I am a smart fellow, must have definitely had the qualification to qualify. I qualified. After having gone to medical college, like all freshers. How many doctors are here, if I am not inquisitive? Sir, too many. Good. When we are the freshers day, before freshers day, there is ragging. During ragging, they have taken us to anatomy theatre. Asked us to count how many dead bodies are there. We started counting. But some dead bodies were disfigured in such a way, upper limbs are separate, lower limbs are separate, head, neck separate, thorax separate, abdomen separate. How to assemble them, make it a one body. That's how it is. So we were not able to do that because somebody having aversion. मेरे को तो पहले दिन ही चक्कर आ गया. मैं क्या साला कहाँ के फंस गया था. This is not done. This is not my cup of tea. But meanwhile, the ragging, the desensitization or sensitization process is going on. And at the same time exposed to a lot of pathological and this type of anatomical things. They have taken us to pathological laboratory, also showed us a lot of things, diseases and other things. I made us sufficiently scared. Then, ultimately, when we came to anatomy, physiology, examination, we are faced with a grey anatomy. This is this much big, which can be used as a pillow. And Chatterjee used to be there for physiology. And after that, Boyd's pathology this much, and medicine, surgery, gynec, PSM, SPM, ENT, ophthalmology, all these exams put together, such a Herculean task, and after this is over, I wrote UPX exam, so I got into civil, the CGHS, Central Government Health Scheme. I opted for MCD, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, what is called Kar Parishani Delhi. Corporation, it was Kar Parishani. So that time I joined there because I thought there will be no transfers. So I was allotted Hindu Rao on the ground that I don't know Hindi. So MCD DC tha, DC Deputy Commissioner is an AS officer, rank officer. He was looking like me that time. But he was having a lot of power. So many people are flocking to him and seeking a lot of favors, and very old, renowned doctors are also sitting outside his room, waiting for his visit, 2 to 3 minutes, this thing. First time I started, मैं क्या करके आया जी 6 साल इतना पढ़ के आया है और छोटा सा जॉब के लिए बाहर एक लड़का सा कमरा बाहर बैठा हूँ. ये क्या सिस्टम है यार. पढ़ाई जो पढ़ा किया था उसका तो इतना रेम्यूनरेशन है ही नहीं. जब ऐसे ही करके IAS में बैठ गया होगा उसके लिए इतना. So this is not done. फिर भी having the, so he called me inside, he asked me हिंदी में, I remember him, IAS officer बलबीर सिंह. डॉक्टर साहब बताओ कैसे हो. What? I asked. Now, how are you? I am fine. So, you don't know Hindi? No. But how come you came to Delhi? No, I just opted Delhi Corporation. In the UPSC, they allotted MCD. But then very tough. Patients will not speak English. You have to either learn Hindi or you better go for Hyderabad and other places. No. Having read grey anatomy, body pathology, medicine, surgery, gynec, forensic medicine, all these things, internship, house surgeon, and all these things. Do you think I'm such a weak fellow? Being a doctor, I'm very tough. I'll prove you how tough I am, how a medical profession can be tough, how tough exams would be in a medical examinations. So I took up the challenge. Within 3-4 months, I picked up Hindi so well. I now forgot Telugu and English also. I speak only in Hindi. गाली देने में हिंदी पहले पढ़ा था. That was Punjabi में. Sorry, Sardarji. So then we gave civil services. Now I realize the disproportionate importance, respect, significance, status given to civil services versus medical profession is appalling, pathetic. There is some problem. Why these medical professionals are not respected? When I became member of parliament, before that also I used to participate in a lot of discussions. 1991, if you all remember, friends, there was a attempt by the government to liberate the government clutches and liberate into private economy. That is called LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. And before that also, medical and healthcare has been privatized. Education also has been privatized. That means the government allowed private people to make money on education, allowed government to make money on the diseases. If you get a more disease, I'll get more money. If you get a heart replacement or heart valve or stent operations or this thing, bypass surgery and all, doctors will have a good money. At the same time, they are all very seriously ill. If they cannot treat them, they simply push it to government hospital. In the government hospital, Hindu hospital, I used to see 200 to 300 patients per hour. ओपीडी स्लिप्स में लिखा रहता था SD, APC, BC, मतलब 100 एक ऑलमोस्ट 125 बना के रखता था. जो भी पेशेंट आते थे उसको हाथ में पकड़ा रहता पहले. अरे डॉक्टर साहब, मैंने बीमार बोला नहीं, आपने पर्ची पकड़ा दिया. आप बोलो जो बोलो, बस यही मिलेगा. ज़्यादा बहस करते रहोगे ये भी नहीं मिलेगा. तो भाग जाएगा. The pathetic situation is such. Only 1 or 2 patients we used to examine thyroid का है, कोई पैराथायराइड का है, या सुपर एरेनल ग्लैंड का है, या पीनल ब्लॉडी का है, पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड का, जो थ्योरी में पढ़े थे. कभी कभार मिलने का मौका मिलने का चांस रहता था. एक आधा बार नहीं. रेबिस तो काफ़ी बार देखा. We used to study in the books. रेबिस तो काफ़ी बार देखा. We used to think what is hydrophobia. When you see the water, you got the fear. This is the theory input. But when the rabies patient comes, you ask them just to go to the tap and freshen your face. The moment you open the tap, they go into spasm. Respiratory, cervical, all the muscles go into spasm. We have to see them to believe it. I don't know how many patients, how many doctors have seen the rabies patients. Such a pathetic. Saliva, every body secretions will be full of rabies virus. We will be handling them. Some people will come and vomit on us. So many times people used to vomit on me. Sometimes vomiters used to go in my mouth. And we used to wipe it out, clean it up, and go to the sister's room. Sister, जरा ये लगाओ करके फिर कपड़े बड़ा घर जाके चेंज करके आता हूँ. लेकिन इस समय स्टिंकिंग ये वो. Why I am trying to tell you is that such a noble, such a profession has been brought under Consumer Protection Act. When a patient dies, I sincerely, my feeling, my understanding of the medicine is that only 20% medicine is known to the human beings, 80% is not known. This is the only medical field which is not developed to the extent it would have been developed. Destructive sciences were developed too long, too much, destructive sciences and telecom services. But medical science is stagnated where it is. Rather, it has gone into the hands of some blackmailers, or it has been hijacked by pharmacopoeia or pharmacological companies who are creating a pharmacological terror. Now there is a pharma war. This is what we call a third world war. They can kill industry, they can create an industry. They can make any drug disappear from the market one day. For example, glitazones have been gone by creating a phobia that it causes bladder cancer. Gliptins have been brought in by explaining a very complicated procedure of working in a colon area by converting the inhibitor enzyme. I don't know. Diabetic syndrome is a syndrome. Diabetes mellitus is a syndrome. It is not a disease. It has got a lot of other diseases associated with it. Diabetes mellitus syndrome. It may be defective insulin, it may be defective pancreas, it may be defective cell, it may be defective metabolism, it may be defective body itself while uptaking the glucose from the cellular level. In such as things, if you simply produce a lot of medicines exploiting the diseases, dark patches, where is the end for it? Poor fellows. Yesterday I was watching some Ayurvedic Research Institute approved by Government of India, Ayush. I wrote a letter to Health Minister immediately, to Home Minister also, claiming to be a wonderful drug to treat the diabetes, and he was advising the patrons or the watchers of the TV to discontinue your medicines, discontinue injections. Please come to us. I immediately spoke to my ex-friend who was a hospital superintendent in Andhra Pradesh and also in Hinduro and Irvine Hospital. अरे यार ऐसे तो बहुत लोग आ रहे हैं आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिन लेके डायबिटिक कोमा में आता है. They used to take drugs. They used to take sulfonylureas or biguanides and directly insulins, but they stopped and they take Ayurvedic medicines. Suddenly they develop ketoacidosis and come in the diabetic coma. How to stop this exploitation? Where to start, where to end? Already medical sciences is not well known to the human beings. Already medical science is rudimentary stage. Above all, we have corporatized. Above all, there are so many unscrupulous elements. Above all, pharmaceutical companies. Above all, profit-making mind of the human being. There's such a complex issue to legalize it, to theorize it, to put it in a streamlined law. It will be a very premature attempt. But yet, of course, as my previous speaker has told, there has to be some attempt made. I was keenly following what you have been telling. They're all good. For example, low socioeconomic groups claiming to be poor patients' status in the hospital. There are certain systems developed in Andhra Pradesh. If somebody is interested, you can come and study it. White card, red card, blue card, all cards are there. That there is a sufficient screening system of the people who are coming in the guise of rich, poor fellows and exploiting the poor. Those systems are there. For example, forensic medicine. In every act, in every law enforcing agency, like the Custom Act, Excise Act, Delhi Police Act, Income Tax Act, or Drugs NDPS Act, in every act, whenever law enforcer faces any medicament or predicament or a challenges of bona fide belief, sir, I have given aspirin to this patient with a bona fide belief. I have given adrenaline the bona fide belief that he has undergone some problem with the bronchial asthma. But he turned out to be cardiac asthma. I have given genuinely adrenaline. You cannot question my bona fides or professional ethics or my knowledge. But what to do? Bronchial asthma, cardiac asthma, resemble the same. Am I confusing or am I not correct? Please correct me if I am talking wrong. 90% they resemble the same. When the emergency wards, you look the same. Unless the patient gives a history. If the patient gives the history, fine. But most of the patients are illiterates. With the enthu will give adrenaline, he will die. If suppose doctor is booked, how will you protect it? That is why in every act, my suggestion would be, my colleague, to incorporate one provision. If any action done or deemed to have been done it while discharging the professional duties and results in anything, he should not be penalized. Police fellows, they're chasing a thief, dacoit. Mistaken identity, they fired. And IRS. She thought I will become inhuman or subhuman. Maybe correct, may not be correct. When we were told, very fugitive is running away, there are two agencies in the world to take life deliberately. One is judiciary, another is military during war. Nobody can take the life. Judiciary after due process of law, after principles of natural justice. Military when the war is declared. The rest of the times you cannot take the life. But while discharging my functions as a police officer, as a custom officer, I was chasing a smuggler, I was chasing a drug smuggler, a doctor is given adrenaline, doctor has given derifilin, doctor has given dextrose, without knowing pulmonary edema is already there, and he was loading the circulation with a bona fide belief. Why should he be punished? Therefore, protection should be provided for the doctors also on the lines of those law enforcers who are being provided the same type of protection in the Customs Act, Excise Act, NDPS Act, Police Act. Ethics. Let us come to ethics. Somebody goes to hospital for headache. If he goes to government hospital, he will not have time to know about also whether he had the headache or stomach ache or which ache, he will not have time to see. And his working conditions so bad. But private hospital, corporate hospitals, I have no idea. I have never worked. Private small private clinics. The moment the doctor sees he is an afford fellow, he will immediately order. Suppose 2-3 times he comes and that, Doctor साहब मेरे headache बहुत आ रहा है, CAT scan करो. Doctor साहब मेरे stomach हो रहा है, ultrasound जाओ. Anything investigation, inspection, percussion, palpation, auscultation. These are the 4 things. Inspection, you watch the patient while walking in. Percussion, see the body. Or palpation, see the body, whether it is warm or cold, is shivering or vibrating. Some percussion, if you feel anything fluid is there, percussion. Ultimately, auscultation. Mitral stenosis, mitral regurgitation, aortic stenosis, aortic regurgitation. All these can be easily diagnosed by auscultation. Simple mid-diastolic murmur, pan-systolic murmur. This can be diagnosed as a medical doctor. Why should he go to echo? Why should he go for any investigating skills, any investigating tools? Why the patient getting treated for the disease, he is walking to death trap. I have seen a lot of patients selling their properties, selling their Mangalasutra also for the sake of health and getting landed in the death trap. Medical से छूट गया, कर्ज में डूब गया. ये सिचुएशन कैसे क्रिएट हुआ? By being unethical, or because of some, maybe because of lack of time, maybe some because of profit making. So their ethics also required to be followed scrupulously. This is my sincere suggestion. Law, of course, should be known because, for example, for a simple reason I explained why law should be taught to the doctor. One more thing I would like to share with you, friends: psychology. You must have seen Munna Bhai MBBS. Munna Bhai MBBS, though it looks very simple and hilarious, it has got a lot of hidden meaning. They treat patient not as a pathology. Acute glomerulonephritis, pulmonary edema, pleurisy, pulmonary tuberculosis, renal tuberculosis. These are the diagnoses. But what the message he is to give in the picture is that Gurmeet Singh's tuberculosis, Baljit Singh's renal tuberculosis, Ravindra Babu's viral fever, or some Ramadasu's some foot, or some, because psychology has got tremendous impact on the body. The living examples I'll tell you: Stephen Hawking, John Nash. John Nash, game theory, Stephen Hawking still alive, MND, motor neuron disease, Guillain-Barré syndrome, motor neuron disease, a frank motor neuron disease at the age of not even 30. He cannot speak, he cannot walk, he cannot talk. Yet his mind is so crisp, so clear. He overcome disease, he does not feel that he has MND. If I am diagnosed MND tomorrow, I will die day after tomorrow. I will immediately succumb. My psychology, my mind is very weak. Therefore, there are 100 billion people at the presently in the globe, 100 million people died. In the history, when you know the genome structure, genetic DNA structure, when anybody must have read that, Watson and Crick's, the cyclical this thing. If somebody understands that, the repetition of the same species or same person, maybe 1 in trillion. That means presently one in generation may there can be two persons looking each other are having same physiology. Even if they have a same physiology, homozygous twins, they may have different pathology. They may have different reactions. Therefore, how can you treat everybody with the same pathology, same medicines? Different person need to be treated with a different psychology because mind has got a lot of control over the body. These are the 3 things which I elaborated in the MCA Act in the Lok Sabha. I got very good applause from my colleagues. Everybody appreciated it. I hope you also appreciate it. So, I sincerely advocate further elaboration on the integration of medicine with the law, integration of medicine with ethics, Integration of medicine with the psychology. Apart from that, the protection which need to be given should be the broad-based. We cannot call everybody a black sheep. There are unscrupulous elements. There are unscrupulous elements everywhere. The judiciary is also highly corrupt. For example, people say, people say, because you are very, very dangerous people. No, see, lawyers I am scared of two people. One is lawyer, another is press. These are the people who will pervert, distort the whatever you said in such a way, then they will be forced to accept as I said it. When did you stop beating your wife? This is the question. Suppose if I said, no, or have you stopped beating your wife? That is the question, I think. Have you stopped beating your wife? This is the question. आपने बीवी को मारना बंद कर दिया? Yes, sir. मतलब पहला मारता था. No, sir. अभी भी कर रहा है. तो my sincere apologies for the legal profession. See, corruption I mean to say is a human phenomena. Those who had 46 chromosomes, XY is the most corrupt gene than the XX. Female supposed to be the most pure race than the XY. XY is a trans. As the gene itself indicates, there is a trans. Therefore, males need to be controlled. Females need not be controlled. As long as females are there, they will take care of the world. It is the males who create the world wars. It is the males who destroy this nature. It is the male who destroys anything. Medical profession is there to protect all such destructions. And this is an ongoing phenomena. But we have to integrate instead of these three, in addition to these three, integration of private corporate hospitals into government hospitals. How to bring them on one footing. They are thinking differently. Corporate hospital thinking is different than the public hospital or government hospitals. I still feel, in my own conviction, in my own idea, in my personal opinion, government hospitals are still the best. Government hospitals are still the best. Government hospitals has still best skill. Government hospitals have still the selfless doctors. They still do best service in India, even now, even tomorrow also. The government is now pledged to strengthen the government hospitals, leaving the corporate hospitals on their own merit and on their own strengths. Therefore, if at all I have spoken anything extra than what is supposed to have been spoken, my sincere apologies and regrets to my lawyer friends, and of course my doctor friends always be expressing solidarity with me, and rest of the audience for having given this chance, and I thank you very much, and wish you all the best. A white paper, if I am allowed to carry it, I will take it, and I will also talk something about this in the parliament. But please watch me in the YouTube. I am a combination of a doctor with a civil service and a public life, political life. You will have a definitely most interesting person in me. Please do interact with me freely, anytime, either on my email, which is there www.parliament.in, or anytime, anything, please do let me know and correct me. And whenever I speak anything, please do advise me. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Pandula. It's good I didn't bring my wife. And I'm, sir. I now request Dr. D.R. Rai to share his thoughts with us.
Good evening, gentlemen. Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji, Dr. Thani, our Member Parliament, Gupta and all, and particularly Mr. Mahendra Bajpayee. First of all, I would like to give the compliments to Mr. Mahendra Bajpayee. The thing which should have been taken by the medical fraternity to formulate, to discuss, do the brainstorming about the problems which a doctor community is facing is being taken by a person who is not a doctor. And I compliment to Mahendra Bajpayee for all these things, the convention which he has done, and a marvelous brainstorming session in Mumbai, where more than 180 doctors have participated and they have done tremendous job. It is a Herculean job, and to reach on the consensus is the most difficult by the educated masses. You can collect the persons who are not educated, but it's very difficult to ask the educated person to sit at one place. It's a very difficult job. It's a compliment to you. I think a lot of things Mr. Bajpayee has already narrated in the second convention what they have done. Again, I give them a compliment. But I don't want to go in the details, but I will like to touch only 2-3 things which are very much pertaining. As our friend from parliamentarian who is a lawmaker also and a doctor also, he has given a very good story of the doctors, but I will say one thing more. The medical profession is the only profession which is under the slot from all the corners of the society. Whether it is the government, or it is the public, or it is the colleagues, we are being assaulted from all the corners. They say that this is the noble profession. It is the noble profession, but I say now it was a noble profession. It was a noble profession. Lord Bernard Shaw has told once that the society is losing faith in the God. That's why it has been transferred to the doctor. भगवान के बाद कौन है तो डॉक्टर है. Second is the doctor, because that faith was being transferred to the doctor. Now I say that society is losing the faith in a doctor and it is being given to the judiciaries. Whatever is happening, they are finding the ways how to pin, how to trouble, how to put a blame on the doctor's community. It is there. And what the doctor can do, every day we are witnessing, and my friends must be there, when a very severe patient is coming in the hospital, he is in the dying state, doctors are doing their best to revive them. At that time, the doctor is a god. Why I am narrating this story? Because see the transformation which every day we are seeing. When the patient is very, very sick in the ICU, the doctor is a god. And when the patient settles down, after 2-3 days, the same doctor who was a god becomes a doctor. साहब ने बहुत सेवा की, बहुत ड्यूटी की है. Same doctor becomes only a doctor. God becomes a doctor. And after 7 and 10 days, once a bill is being given to them, the same God, the same doctor becomes a dacoit. Is there anyone who can give us? A doctor is avoiding his family, his children for everywhere. And what he is getting? If you want to start a small nursing home or a small establishment, there are 47 laws. There are 47 laws which are put on the doctors, then only you can practice. I don't say there should be law. There should be. We want to be regulated. But why such way? We have requested a number of times, Dr. Athani is here, we have requested a number of times to the government also, we don't mind if you are putting these laws on us, but kindly make one window only, that's all. But it's not possible. Now they say, Mr. Bajpayee was saying something about the dermatology and the quackery. Sir, in city like Delhi, which is the capital of the country, more than 50,000 quacks are practicing in this area. More than 50,000. And in 87, a very landmark judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court was there, in which it has clearly mentioned the person who is not qualified with the MCI Act of 1956, having a degree of MBBS, cannot practice the allopathy. But who is obeying? Today also, even I'm due respect to the judiciary also, to the courts also. Today they are passing, they can practice. A Ayush doctor can do the ultrasound and all these things. They are making some excuses to train them, or some excuses to make them to practice the allopathy. Why? This was the Medical Council of India is the only responsible which has given the name to the medical profession. What was happening in the 1947 when we got independence? Only there were 10 medical colleges, and after that, slowly in 50s it has become to 100. And then when the MCI Act came, how much they were regulating? Why Indian doctors are being respected in the other countries? Because of the strictness of the MCI only. If some flaws are there, you correct it. Who is saying that we should not correct it? We are open for the correction. But blaming the MCI or blaming the medical profession is not at all there. And the other part is the most disgusting for, as a doctor I am telling, as a medical activist I am telling, in my country, in your country, everybody is a doctor except a qualified doctor. Everybody is a doctor except a qualified doctor. A qualified doctor thinks 10 times before prescribing anything. But a quack or a layman, immediately he will tell you, "Arey bhai, tumhe sar mein dard ho raha hai, aspirin kha lo." Nobody knows. And my population also, I hats off to them. They will not go to the doctor, they will go to them and they will buy the medicine, they will try it. And when the things becomes very, very bad, then they come to the doctor community and they blame. They blame the doctor. Negligence has been done by the doctor. Today my friends from Delhi are sitting there. What is happening in the city of Delhi? Every house is having a chikungunya patient, malaria patient or dengue patient. And who is responsible? MCD. Clearly I say MCD. MCD is being troubled by MCD. In my words, MCD is being troubled by MCD. M stands for the malaria, C for the chikungunya, and D for the dengue. But we are believing. Nobody is ready to take the responsibility. For last 3 days, I am on the air channel, and now just I am rushing with due apologies to everyone. On times now I am going for the debate only. And I am saying only one thing. Why government is not putting a blame on the person who is responsible for that one? For last 10-15 years, Anil Kumar is also sitting there, Gathani is also there. Every time we are advisory as being given to the government, but what is the result? Whenever the rainy season is there, बिगुल कहते हैं ना बिगुल बजा दिया जाता है कि ओ बरसात आ गई, इसके बाद चिकनगुनिया आएगा, इसके बाद मलेरिया आएगा, and all on the papers everything is being done. But what is the result? A big zero. Whenever there is Ebola in the foreign country, our state, our government ministry also becomes very alert and they start working on the war footing. If Zika is there, they start working on the war footing. If there is a swine flu, they start working. But what is happening in our country? For last 30 years, we are fighting with the malaria and we are not in the position. The country like Ceylon has controlled it. Now I give you one example of Mumbai city. Mumbai, the biggest slum of Asia, that is Dharavi. And near Dharavi, there is one ward number 24. I am giving the exact, I am not boasting in that way. Number 24, where last year in each and every house was having a patient chikungunya positive. Sorry, dengue positive. And my doctor community, my friends, they started fighting with the corporation there, Mumbai corporation. And after their fighting, doing the press conferences, they started fumigating, they started spraying this thing. And today you just go to the ward number 24, not a single mosquito you will find. If there is willpower, we can do it. If there is no willpower, we can't do it. There are a lot of issues which they have already done it. And because I had to rush to the studio, so I will like to finish here. But once again, I will give compliment. A learned person, Dr. Vinod, our Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji is here. A very, very learned person, good friend of us. I just give thank you very much, sir, for all this thing.
Sir, before you sit, Dr. D.R. Rai, sir, before you sit for a minute, 2 minutes sir de dijiye. Is not only the former Secretary General of Indian Medical Association national body, but known as a very wise man. And today, for some strange reason, he has said, I wouldn't say uncharitable words, but not very kind words about Dr. Anil Kumar, Dr. Anil Sen, Dr. Athani. Sir, I would like you to say thank you to Dr. Anil Kumar. Ravi, can we have the bouquets? मैं चाहूँगा Dr. Rai इनको bouquet दे. No, there is a reason. No, not that one. Sir, आपकी नहीं, sir, रखिए. दोनों के लिए रखिए. Sir,
good friend of mine.
Sir, they came all the way from Mumbai, from Delhi to Mumbai, And whole day they were there in the deliberations. To Dr. Anil Sen also. Dr. Saab. Dr. Anil Sen also. Dr. Anil Sen. Both from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they spent the entire Sunday discussing on law, informing doctors, informing advocates what was the government's view. So, I would now request, sir, please. I'll both Dr. Rai and Dr. Pandula wants to leave. Thanks. I would want to. Is there? Okay. Dr. Gilada, sir, please. Dr. Gilada is here. I'll request him to come on the dais. Dr. Gilada. Dr. Gilada happens to be, sir, the president of AIDS Society of India, and he was associated in the HIV session. I will now request Dr. Athani to share his views with us.
Dr. Prakash Mishra, Dr. Gilada, and all the dignitaries on the dais, and all the participants in this event. I represent Directorate General of Health Services. I am Special DGHS. So I have to somewhat remain in the confines of the policies and programs evolved by the elected government. But still then, I will not hesitate to express some of my personal views as well. It was really a very pleasant surprise for me to receive an invite from Medicine and Law Organization, that too yesterday afternoon, but I readily accepted it because quite a few of my duties of late assigned in the directorate and the ministry involve interaction with legal professions. And one of them, in fact, is the organ transplant. I'm an appellate authority for organ transplant. All the five-star hospitals and corporate which refuse donation from an individual, lawyers keep on appealing to us. And there is a 14-member committee which listens to that. And of course, there are, as somebody was mentioning, that is mandatory termination, mandatory termination of life, that also we are re-articulated it. We are saying the management of terminally ill patient and withdrawal of life support. We have retitled it, and that also I'm working a little bit with other committee members. Apart from that, so many other issues which I need not mention about it. I'm not too conversant with all the proceedings that have happened in the past, but I had the glimpse after looking at the paper, a report or what you call white paper, as well as the very crisp presentation from the Manoj Vajpayee, which I have already noted down. And this is really a very, assumes a significance, I would say, because at a time when the medical professions as well as the medical institutes have been coming increasingly under the litigation for various reasons, and ever since this Consumers Protection Act has come into enforcement, and no other technical profession perhaps has been entangled so much into the laws and rules and regulation as the medical professions. It is, it is becoming, as the days are passing by, it is becoming difficult for the medical professions to continue with, to apply the reasonable skills and knowledge, because if you are all the time conscious about whether I am doing the right or wrong, then you will not be able to exercise your freedom, because freedom of thought is the most important. Freedom of thought as well as freedom of action in our case is the most important for the bringing about the good results. And if that itself is create a doubt, if all the time is lingering in your brain, then perhaps the efficacy, it will definitely affect the efficacy as well as efficiency. At this juncture, I must tell you that in the United States of America, a new nomenclature has been evolved, and that is called as defensive medicine. A defensive medicine means, in order to avoid litigation and in order to get rid of all these problems, keep on unduly prescribing all investigations, all tests on all the individuals. Even if it is simple fever which comes to me, even if I know that it is simple viral sore throat, I am not going to take a chance. I am going to test him for dengue, I am going to test it for malaria, I am going to test it for the typhoid, I am going to test it for everything. Why? Because I don't want anybody to file a litigation on me. So on one side, what is the repercussion of this is that it is the patient who has to bear the huge amount of cost. What could have been done in about 10 rupees or say 20 rupees, he will have to spend 20,000 rupees. That is because we will have to remain safe. Safety of the doctors is more important. For my profession is more important than this. Ideally speaking, we in the government emphasize to prudency. Resources are, we always say, limited, and these are always finite, and resources are finite. Therefore, you have to be very prudent when it comes to utilizing the utilities. But then, going by the trends, it has made all the doctors, which also should have been one of the topics to be included in the discussion, if not now, at least in the future. Now, what is the common between the medical and legal professions? Is there anything common, or only lawyers are meant for only chasing the doctors? It's not really so. There are a lot of things which are common. Lot of things are common. And one of the, I would say, apart from both of them are age-old, respected and prestigious professions, one thing that is very common is that the constitution. The medical professions is concerned with the constitution of a human being, an individual, which varies from individual to individual. My constitution is different, his constitution is different, his constitution is different. We have a different genetic constitution altogether. No two human beings are same. It's all different, law has to understand that also as well. Whereas the legal professions are concerned with constitution of a nation. That is basically the rights, rules and regulations. So the combination of these two will work well for any given individual. Medical science is certainly not an exact science, and exact rule, exact regulation cannot be all the time applied. But there is a lot of variables, complex variables, in mathematical language to put it. Medical professions have to deal with a very complex variable all the time. So that is what makes it's a bit difficult. Now, people were saying that the medical profession is a noble profession. It has almost lost the noble profession. Being the Director General of Health Service, I cannot agree to that. A bit of nobility still remains. I would say quite a bit of nobility still remains. Not just quite a bit of nobility remains. I would quote here Devil's Advocate's anchor, that is Karan Thapar. I hope he's not there around here. His mother was admitted in RR hospital in 90-year-old ladies, and he was, at least at that time, he was very quiet, observing all that was happening around him. And in Hindustan Times, he wrote, "A simple conclusion, medicine is truly a noble profession." This came just about last 2 years back. The qualities that lie in the heart of medical profession: reassuring, comforting, calmness, radiating stillness and stability. Doctors' mere presence provides solace to a suffering soul. Their compassionate behavior offers hope to a person in despair. Their presence provides solace and behavior offering hope. It is the perfect antidote to the concerned depression and even panic in your heart. This is what Karan Thapar, Devil's Advocate, wrote in Hindustan Times few weeks back. So for doctors, forget about laws, forget about rules, forget about regulations. For doctors, sick person matters most. And he is accountable, answerable to a sick person who has reposed complete and total trust in him. He has submitted himself. When you are sick, when you are totally sick, you are not asking question people whether rules and you are not opening rules and regulation books, whether what is written in consumer protection, what is written in, you don't go. You go and submit yourself to the doctor. Doctor, save me. That's all. So he is answerable, like God. He is answerable to the God. He is answerable to the patient, and he is answerable to the person who is submitted to himself. Well, I would say that India's health standards have also increased quite a lot. Time doesn't permit me to go into the details, but suffice it to say that we are earning, medical profession is earning $3 billion in Indian medical tourism. That speaks volumes of standards of medical care that is being provided and expected to rise to $8 billion by 2020. So we are generating quite a lot of income for the country as well. Now, regarding the various judgments, and even All India Institute of Medical Science was fined recently by the Supreme Court for shifting one patient from All India Institute of Medical Science to subsidizing hospital, a cardiac patient who required sort of an immediate attention. And maybe rightly so, I have nothing to comment. But as even the government hospitals are coming under the Consumer Protection Act, and there are about, now I have more than about nearly 100 institutes under me, I must say that one has to keep in the, not back of the mind, in the front of the mind, and that has already been agreed to, system capacity, system effectiveness, and system errors. It is the system, when the system, if the system is built for, if a room is built for living 3 people, and if I have to accommodate 30 people in that, and if somebody 31st person is also refused, you are asking why 31st person is refused, you are not asking why those 30 have been accommodated in place of 30. So it is like again half glass, whether you will see glass half empty or half full. So it has to be, system has to be kept in mind before we, what is the capacity of this institution, hospital, and to how many people are they referring to. I was medical superintendent of Sept'16 Hospital for nearly 3 years. 7,000 patients are registered every day in Sept'16 Hospital in the OPD. 200 deliveries are done every day in Sept'16 Hospital, 180 to 200. 20 cesarean sections are done every day. And 200 orthopedic procedures are done every day. Overall, it comes to burns, which we are the leading center as far as burns is concerned. We are getting about 15 to 20 on an average, but during Diwalis and festival days, the number rises up to almost 50 to 60 severe burns cases. Look at this volume. This is, when we tell this to the foreigners, when I go to America, so we see so many patients and we treat so many patients, they say, do you treat the patient or do you just see the patients? I said, we see the patient as well as treat the patients. And that is, so that is what we are capacity, but capacity when it is overstretched, if the elasticity of any particular structure is overstretched, it is going to yield and it is going to tear. So this has to be kept in mind whenever we are talking about this. Now, fortunately, as it is mentioned by my predecessors, that the doctors in the government hospitals are to some extent safeguarded from Consumer Protection Act, but not, albeit not totally. Still we do get quite a few cases, Manoj. And here I must mention that how doctors in a government hospital become responsible. It is because they charge. Who charges? It is the hospital who charges sometimes for the registration fee for those who are above poverty line. And there are for utilization fees for x-rays, laboratory test is done. And of that, not even micro fraction of that amount comes to the doctor who is treating. So it is to see, the act has to see whether is the doctor getting any charge out of it or is he just getting salary? He is working on a salary. When doctor is working exclusively on the salary and whatever utilization charges, whatever meager collection is done, it is done by the hospital and not by the doctor himself. He is working, as far as the doctor is concerned, he is working free of cost. This has to be kept in the back of the mind. Now, vicarious liability also is being talked about quite a lot. I mean, it is very difficult in Sept'16 hospital. I have 2,000 residents and about 1,600 nurses, and paramedical technicians amount to around 3,000 person. If one chap or one sister does some mistake, a medical superintendent or additional medical superintendent cannot be held responsible. This also has to be, the magnitude of the medical profession or hospitals are like industries where there is and it is a labor oriented I won't say labor, it is a very skilled manpower oriented profession. Huge number of skilled manpower are involved, and any mistake can happen anywhere, and that happens sometimes mostly because of human errors, not because of any deliberate act. Another phenomenon that we are seeing off late is the violence against doctors. I think that was not touched upon. I think it is there. In the white paper it is there, but you didn't speak. I think you didn't consider it important. So I think I would touch it. Violence against doctors is very often we get complaints from both sides. Suddenly all residents will go on strike. RML band and LNGP band because one resident was hit by some. So these are happening immediately. Even Supreme Court has taken the cognizance of this issue, and they have directed us to pass even the legislations on this. And here in this context, I must say that one of the reports says that 75% of the doctors are facing some kind of violence, mild to moderate, throughout the country. It is the kind of, has to take note that it is this profession which is, where are we drawing this profession to? It is so much of attack from all angles, as somebody said, it becomes very difficult. So we have, on one side, we would like to medical growth profession to grow and hospital care industry to go, but at the same time, we are trying to constrict it. Now, what is the effect, ultimately, of these kind of effect on the doctors? See, quite a few surgeons I know at least, I don't want to name, a very eminent and internationally famous surgeon in Mumbai, for having done one mistake in his life, he suffered from the stigma for his lifetime. I don't want to name it, but everybody knows that name. And such a greatest of the great, I will use the greatest of the great surgeon, fell sick mentally. And when I used to tell in front of this one, what is this at the fag end of my career, what is this happened to me? So, to put in other words, drawing the doctors for any kind of negligence or whatever is very easy. But then your legal process takes so long time. You want to get a clean chit, it takes 10 years. And for 10 years, that fellow has to live in a stigma, in a cloud of doubt, and people who used to go to him will not go, he is treated as this. So that is one more, the prestige. One has to see that the prestige and honor of the doctor doesn't unnecessarily gets eroded while the proceedings are on. This is very important. The load on the doctors is so much. I must narrate one more incident which happened in Sept'16 hospital, very interesting. A neurosurgeon, he got summons from some Haryana court saying that you have to personally appear. He came to me, sir, should I go? I am all alone here. And I said, if you send some junior, what is there? Or you can send some junior, not is the normal practice. I permitted. Second time, the judiciary insisted that no, he only has to come. So second time he came to me, sir, again, try once more, make a sincere plea, saying that you have a lot of difficulties, you have a lot of patients and all that. No, third time they issued straight away non-bailable warrant. There's something called in short NBW. That order was issued. Then he came to me, sir, today I am going. I said, no, I said, you should not ask me question. You have to go. Now you are left with no choice. You have to go. So he went. And so he is very smart also. He is friend with the judge. Sir, why have you called me? He said, there is a head injury case, negligence. I don't know, not negligence, he was not attended to. And therefore, that was caused death and all that. He was not attended to, I think, that was the issue. Then he explained and he saw then and there he saw the papers. Then he told Honorable Judge, sir, you will be calling many more times. Why? Because today 2 more patients are going to die because I have come here. 2 or 3 patients more are going to die because I am the only surgeon there in the Sept'16 hospital. And minimum I do 5 to 6 neurosurgery cases every day. And because I have now come all the way to Haryana, I will not be able to handle those 5 cases. So all 5 will be dying, and so I'll be not attending to any one of them. So that is to say, load factor is so much on the government hospitals, insistence on this also causes quite a lot of waste of time. So, well, I think I will not, I would rather like to be with you on in future occasions, because it won't be possible for me to touch upon the entire spectrum or wide spectrum of issues that are involved in this. This work requires, you have made a very good beginning, modest beginning of bringing together legal professions as well as medical professions, and let us work together and not against each other, and try to bring a very sound, healthy system which will instill a confidence in the doctors as well as in the benefit patients, and at the same time do not hamper the growth of either of the profession. That we have to ensure we should be done in such a sensitive manner that it should not erode the confidence of any of the professionals and should not hamper the growth of these professions. So I would once again thank for calling me, for giving me this opportunity to share my few thoughts, and I will hope to be associated with you even in future as much as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Athani. In fact, at page 28 of the white paper, we have this recommendation coming, and recommendation coming from the ones who are most affected. The breakaway session on critical care, intensivists. It is there that the patient dies and the doctors are. The next dignitary that I will call to speak will be Dr. B.C. Gupta. We have doctors, we have lawyers. Let us listen about some views from the judges also. Dr. Gupta has delivered many judgments on medical negligence. He is a judge of the National Consumer Commission. And while reading those judgments, we could make out he has good knowledge of medicine. And around 3-4 months back, I came to know that Sir's better half happens to be a doctor, and she is here. Welcome, ma'am. And that is why. But a very source of the medicinal knowledge. Sir, open to interpretations. So, the perspective of lawyers, the perspective of doctors is here. The perspective of the people who are delivering judgments on medical negligence, let us hear it from Dr. B.C.
Prominent dignitaries on the dais. I am coming to this room second time. I came last year also. So I must compliment, first of all, Mr. Bajpai. I had stated last time, as Dr. Athani has also said, that there is a need of a constant dialogue. The issues are so complex. You can't work in isolation. Nobody can work in isolation. So I shall be confining myself to something very simple, very practical. As a practitioner, so every day, in and out, when we see different kind of diverse problems coming to us, how to handle them, are there any protocols, are there any procedures, so like that. So I won't be going into the broad questions whether this Consumer Protection Act should be applicable to one community or not, whether it should be applicable to doctors or builders or engineers, or that is not the area of discussion here. The point is, when you see the things as a practitioner, so I repeat what I said last time. You come to our commission, you pick up any 10 cases. So today also I am repeating this thing. Any 10 files you pick up and have an analysis, whatever is there on the record. So what is being done there? So there are people sitting on the dais, people like me, judicial members and all that. Then Supreme Court, our appeal goes there. But the most important people, they are the advocates. So one advocate represents a patient, another advocate, he will represent the doctor or hospital like that. So the question is, are they being properly briefed? Are there proper practices being followed? So last year also I said informed consent. Till today, I must be honest, I have not come across in this country, in any hospital, if there is a standard pro forma laying down that this is informed consent or free consent or whatever it is that in Samira Kohli, Justice Ravindran said, whether it should be in Hindi or Punjabi or English or what should be laid down and all that. Based on my experience only, very simple questions are asked. Is there any document on the file? There is something called paper book that the advocates understand. Have you placed on the paper book any document which says that so and so, such and such things were explained to the patient or his near relatives? Have you obtained their signatures? Have you put down your own signatures? Ladies and gentlemen, in 99% of the cases, every file is found lacking in something called consent. So somebody asked me in Chandigarh, so do you advocate some pro forma? I said no. Even if there are 2 or 3 lines written there, that I have explained this thing, this thing, this thing. And that is the end of the matter. So I don't want to touch it here. There are so many decided cases. Any part of the world, you go to Australia, New Zealand, America, wherever you go. So there has been a lot of debate on this. So today also I say, so there is a need. The attempt has been made. From the previous year, the IML has made a lot of attempt. They have evolved an SOP. But that SOP, my request is, that should be known, that should be widely propagated, that should be standardized and circulated to everybody, including, of course, advocates are most important, I am saying, including commissions like us and including everywhere, it should be known. Now, secondly, so in this white paper also, just one line I have written, I have read in the first page. It says, it is also inappropriate that courts are forced to find solutions to issues that should have been provided either by policymakers or medical fraternity. So sometimes I feel my job is very simple. I just hear this party, I hear that party, I ask some questions, then based on my common sense, I pronounce something. So I don't know whether they have published, there was an annual medical review. Mr. Vajpayee, about 3-4 months back, he sent me a copy of that. So the observations there, 2 or 3 lines I will just say. They say, there is a policy of non-interference on professional/medical decisions. So this is a result of the analysis which has been made, the judgments made by the Supreme Court, judgments made by the High Courts, National Commission, State Commissions and all that. Then they say, the correctness of the medical records is not challenged by any court. But record has to be there. If you say that record is missing, or some pages are missing, or it is illegible, so then there is a problem, So within the system I am talking, within the system when we are operating. But there is another thing to say, that okay, we should not be covered under the law. But the point is when something at the level of the UNO, ladies and gentlemen, I must say, 22nd of December 2015, there is a new protocol, there is a new resolution passed by the UN General Assembly on various aspects of consumer law. That includes the medical side also. So those things should be discussed, debated, procedures evolved, standard protocols evolved. So I think So that will build up a very healthy doctor-patient relationship. The job of the judiciary is very wide. They deal with all kinds of people. So of course, builders, they are our biggest clients. I think more than 40% cases, they belong to them only. So medical negligence cases, a minor fraction, then other cases and all that, insurance cases and all that. But in this highly technical field, I must emphasize time and again that there is need of evolving SOPs, as has been very adequately brought out, Mr. Vajpayee, in this white paper. But my request will be that there should be constant debate to evolve all these guidelines, and they should be widely known to everybody. Now coming to the violence against doctors. Here also I have to give you one example. Some order was passed by the Supreme Court long time back. Some of the states, I was in Punjab at that time as a Home Secretary. So I piloted a new legislation. So it was basically, the draft was made by our Punjab IMA. And there was very active debate with all of them, and then we evolved that law and got it passed in the assembly. Now only those, my friends in the IMA, they tell me that it has a very strong deterrent effect. He says ever since this law has been passed, we don't know how it has happened, but the incidence of violence, that has been reduced to minimal. So my point is that organizations, the forums like this where we are sitting here, they have a very great responsibility. They bring the people together from all walks of life, and this process, this procedure, it should be continued. It should be made more active. More and more people will be involved. So this is all I wanted to say. From a practitioner point of view, let you be the guiding lights for whatever is stated in the courts, in the room, in the debates before us, in the arguments, in the paper books which are there before us. And I assure you that will build the requisite confidence among all the stakeholders. This is all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Last year, when Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji was here, I don't know whether he spoke from the dais or off the dais, but off the dais also he spoke with me for quite a few minutes. And he had quoted Pula Deshpande. Pula Deshpande happens to be a great writer in Marathi. We both come from Maharashtra. And he said that today I have seen in some book, Pula Deshpande has written that, yeah, today I have seen a big miracle happening. And the miracle was that 5 intellectual persons were walking in one direction. If you have 2 intellectuals, both will walk in different directions. So 5 intellectuals walking in one direction, and then there was a clarification. I'm not able to express it properly, sir. But it was that, yes, they were walking in one direction because it was the dead body of one intellectual and 4 of them were carrying it for cremation. Otherwise, 5 would not be walking in one direction. Friends, the biggest challenge that we faced in organizing this convention was both doctors and advocates are intellectuals. And obviously to come down at a consensus always has been a problem. So in drafting the white paper, very specifically, I am apologizing to Dr. Gilada, who is here. We could send him the draft of the white paper just 2 days back, and he was kind enough, within 24 hours he had sent it back. But the changes we could not incorporate. We will certainly incorporate those changes in the final draft. This is the final draft, but we'll ensure that the suggestions which were sent by him would be there henceforth. And apologies, but this is it. Next friend, we will have, I invite Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra ji, not only as someone from the Medical Council of India as a regulator, but you all will agree with me after this speech, someone who has in-depth knowledge of this subject and speaks taking into account all perspectives. It's great listening to him, Dr. Mishra ji.
Learned dignitaries on and of the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I take the privilege of being in unison with all my predecessors have spoken on this very notable and, permit me to say so, a historical occasion. I want all of you to join me in recording our thankfulness, gratitude and compliments to Advocate Mahendra Bajpayee and his entire team for really crystallizing in this white paper some very vital, tough and difficult areas which hitherto defied clarity consistently. And really a very bold, good and notable venture has been achieved through this white paper. The question is utility of this white paper. White papers have come and gone in this country, and the real link with the white paper by the policy makers is whitewashing the white paper. One very humble attempt which I am wanting to put across before this learned gathering is, until and unless white papers are converted into blueprints, things do not move. One of the handicaps that the policy making in this country has consistently suffered is desired level of informational knowledge for the purposes of policy making. Policy making primarily has been experiential in this country. I think this way, and my experience tells me. I am yet to come across what is that experimental data, what is that expert opinion which is availed by the policy makers for coming to a conclusion as to what exactly is required to be put in what particular manner. The inputs have to be not only generated, ladies and gentlemen, inputs have not only to be discussed, very crystallizedly said, they have to be debated, they have to be deliberated, they have to be concluded, and they have to be rationalized for the purposes of being available to the policy makers. It's full of rationality. It is full of evidence. It is full of debate. It's full of discussion. It's full of unanimity. It is full of understanding. Permit me to say so, it is full of clarity. And therefore, when such documents become available, it becomes handy and decipherable for the policy makers. The policy makers in this country, unfortunately, in my humble opinion, suffer from a syndrome. And that is know-all syndrome. And that know-all syndrome is the real blockade which has to be really transcended and which has really to be broken. It cannot be broken by tips put into the ears. It cannot be put by representations put by the respective stakeholders. It cannot be put by the trade unionistic approach that we are wanting to put across. It has to be by relevant stakeholders debating the issue. Debating the issue in a crystallized manner. Debating the issue in a dispassionate manner, taking into consideration various stocks of the scientific contours which are available at a given point of time, taking into consideration the contemporary concerns which are there confronting us, taking into consideration the challenges which are required to be overcome, both contemporary in character and long-term in nature. Ready input, which is credible, which is cogent, which is creditable, which is generated out of evidence, which is incorporating a considered will of the people out of detailed discussion, is what a white paper ought to be. White paper is something, a word which is very loosely used in this country. Any Tom, Dick and Harry rises, इस समस्या के ऊपर में श्वेत पत्रिका की अनिवार्यता अपरिहार्य है. इसका अर्थ अगर आप उसी को पूछो तो इतना व्हाइट वॉश करके निकल जाता है कि उसको कभी समझ में ही नहीं आता कि वो क्या कह रहा है. व्हाइट पेपर का तात्पर्य मैं आपसे अत्यंत विनम्रता से कहना चाहता हूं. व्हाइट पेपर का तात्पर्य है क्रिस्टलाइज्ड फोकस्ड ओपिनियन विच हैज बीन जनरेटेड आउट ऑफ criticality of evidence generated and gathered at the given point of time. That is the acid test of a white paper. And therefore this white paper, when we put across, it has dealt with various areas of concerns where there is lack of clarity, where there is overlap, where there are certain things which remain unanswered, and they have to be traversed, they have to be answered, they have to be debated, and on them certain degree of clarity, certain degree of illumination has to be generated. And therefore on that count, I have no hesitation in saying that this exercise is a complete exercise which has been undertaken with sincerity and clarity alike. Therefore salutations for this particular white paper. I have only two concerns, ladies and gentlemen, which I am wanting to put across. We have to admit to certain propositions as a matter of stark reality. At this stage, if you and me are contemplating as to whether Consumer Protection Act's coverage and ambit is appropriate or not, when will the acceptance come? The real understanding which I am able to evoke and which I am able to put across, ladies and gentlemen, is we have to admit to a position that these are the laws which are governing us. And the laws will be governing you. There is no immunity from laws. They will be governing you. The question is understanding of the law. The question is availing the decipherability of that particular law, understanding the implications of law, and as has been very clarity put in, what exactly are the onuses which the law is putting on us. Whether the law is good or bad is not a material question which we are required to be taking at this juncture. Whether the interpretation was genuine or otherwise is not a matter. The real question is, and my concern which I am putting across is, are the doctors, my professional colleagues, really aware of the laws under which they are required to be working? The level of the awareness of the law is poor. If I really ask how many clauses the Code of Medical Ethics which a doctor is required to be subscribing to, under which he is required to be duty-boundedly practicing, the privileges which stand conferred to him under section 24 and 25, what exactly are the impositions, accountabilities which have been put on him? अरे इसकी क्या जरूरत है, इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं, वो देखने वाले देख लेंगे ना. हमारा लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस कमजोर है. हमारी जानकारी इन सारी वस्तुस्थितियों की प्रश्नार्थक है. इनके प्रति कहीं ना कहीं संजीदगी के साथ आज भी हम जुड़ पाए हैं ऐसा हमें दिख नहीं पड़ता. और केवल जुड़ नहीं पाए हैं, हमारा स्ट्रक्चरिंग ऑफ द करिकुलम भी इन चीजों को लेकर के लचर और कमजोर है. एक बहुत छोटा सा मुद्दा, एडवर्टाइजिंग और वेबसाइट, इन दोनों के बीच का अंतर हम कब समझेंगे? एक तरफ क्वैकरी के कनोटेशन के साथ जूझने का संदर्भ हमारे सामने खड़ा है, और दूसरी तरफ जानकारी के वे स्रोत जिनके माध्यम से क्वैकरी को टैकल किया जा सकता है, उनको लेकर आज भी हमारे मन के अंतर्गत किंतु और परंतु का होना, यह किस औचित्य का प्रमाण दर्शी है? दो विरोधाभासों के बीच में हम चीजों को ऑपरेट करना चाहते हैं जो दुष्कर और कठिन हो जाया करती हैं. आज भी किस प्रश्न का उत्तर हमारे मन में क्यों नहीं आता? जिस दिन हमने सर्विसेज के स्वरूप को स्वीकार कर लिया, नोबिलिटी के संदर्भों के कॉस्ट के ऊपर में सर्विसेज के कनोटेशन आते हैं. दो व्यावहारिक वस्तुस्थितियों को, एक तरफ फिलॉसफी का कनोटेशन और दूसरी तरफ व्यावहारिक आचरण, इन दोनों के बीच के समझौते व्यक्तिगत नहीं हो सकते. इन दोनों का परिमार्जन व्यक्तिगत नहीं हो सकता. इन दोनों के औचित्यों का निर्धारण व्यक्तिगत नहीं हो सकता. वह कानून के दायरे के अंतर्गत ही होगा, कानून के की व्यवस्था के अंतर्गत ही होगा। इस बात को हमको स्वीकार कर लेना चाहिए। और जब तक ये स्वीकृति नहीं आवेगी तब तक हमारे ये ओवरलैप्स, हमारे ये संशय, हमारे ये इफ्स एंड बट्स हमारे जहन के अंतर्गत खड़े होंगे। इसलिए अत्यंत मैं विनम्रता से कहना चाहता हूं, यह जो प्रयोजन आपने अपने हाथों में लिया है, इसका मूल पर्पस क्या है? इसका मूल पर्पस कहीं कोई क्रिटिकलिटी की बात नहीं है। इसका मूल पर्पस ये कि एक, ब्रॉडन द कवरेज, बी, क्लैरिफाई द ऑपरेशन। अब सोच करके देखिए, दो विरोधाभास अगर मैं आपके सामने रख दूं। नंबर वन, मेडिसिन इज नॉट अ कंप्लीट साइंस। हमारा पहला पैराबल है, फिलोसॉफिकल पैराबल है। इट्स मोर ऑफ एन आर्ट एंड लेस ऑफ अ साइंस। दूसरा, उसके ऊपर में चढ़ाया जाने वाला मुलम्मा है। और तीसरा, अल्टीमेटली इट्स ऑपरेशन हैज टू बी टेस्टेड अगेंस्ट सेट डिफाइंड प्रोटोकॉल्स। अब मुझे बताइए, ये कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन नहीं है? जिस फिलोसॉफिकल कंटूर को एक तरफ आप निर्धारित करते हो और जब उसकी मेजरेबिलिटी के ऊपर में आप आकर के खड़े हो जाते हो तो आप सीधे सीधे कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी हैं। अगर वो फिलॉसफी है तो फिर उसका प्रोटोकॉल कैसा? वो साइंस है, ऑपरेशन के लिए साइंस है, ऑपरेशन के लिए साइंस होने के कारण उसका प्रोटोकॉल है, उसका प्रोटोकॉल है इसलिए रेजिमेंटेशन है। उस प्रोटोकॉल और रेजिमेंटेशन के अंतर्गत इवैल्यूएशन के नाम पर अगर डेफिशिएंसी होगी तो एफिशिएंसी का सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिलता, लेकिन डेफिशिएंसी का जुर्माना भरना पड़ता है। नाउ दिस इज अ सिंपल ऑपरेशनल लॉजिक। अब इस ऑपरेशनल लॉजिक को स्वीकार करना, अस्वीकार करना, ये दिस कैनॉट बी अ मैटर ऑफ चॉइस। And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what I am wanting to surmise and put to this learned gathering with clarity is, number one, laws are there, laws will be there, and laws will continue to be there. Laws will mandate dispensation of the task in a prescribed manner. Conformity to said prescription is expected. We can make any cause. It has to be credible cause. Now you tell me which particular connotation and which particular delivery of dispensation of evaluation of judgment or justice or evidence will be in a position to take note of that I had 1,000 patients to see in the entire day, and therefore in that process ultimately there is bound to be deficiency of service. It cannot be a credible argument. Nobody will buy this. Howsoever true, howsoever bitter, howsoever realistic it be, the day it will be tested on the touchstone of justice or logic, it will not hold water. Therefore, ultimately the connotations and contours, or either you provide exceptions explicitly. No person will be in a position to identify provisions which are not explicit. No exceptions can be derived out of nothing. It is in this context, ladies and gentlemen. The need is, there has to be an influence which is to be generated on the law-making process by any level of policy makers. And that influence is not expected to be what I call by lobbying. Lobbying is always by interests which may not necessarily be healthy, but influencing the decision-making process by generating credible and cogent evidences like this. पॉलिसी मेकर को बुद्धिमान बनाना हमारा काम नहीं है, पर पॉलिसी मेकर को प्रबुद्ध बनाने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी है। पॉलिसी मेकर बुद्धिमान है तो इसीलिए तो पॉलिसी मेकर है, पर पॉलिसी मेकर बुद्धिमान है इसका मतलब प्रज्ञावान हो गया, इस भ्रम के अंतर्गत हम न रहें। उसके लिए कहीं ना कहीं डॉक्यूमेंटेशन की जरूरत है, इनपुट्स की जरूरत है, चीजों को क्रिएट करके, जनरेट करके प्रस्तुत करने की जरूरत है। ये भी हम मान करके न चलें कि हमारी लिखी हुई ये भी कोई वेद व्यास का रचित कोई अंतिम डॉक्यूमेंट थोड़ी है, बट यस, it becomes a credible document, it becomes a handy document, it becomes a usable document, it becomes a document which can be of consequence, relevance and purpose. Our requirement, as I am able to understand, and as the venture has been undertaken by Mr. Mahendra Bajpayee and his entire team, is indeed, it is influencing the decision making, and influencing the decision making to be reflected through an appropriate policy making. And believe me, the day policy making will require to be forced to be on generated evidences. There are agencies which have been statutorily identified in the United States of America for the purposes of generating evidence for the directional policies to be undertaken by the country. Association of Physicians of Indian origin, the largest association of doctors, American Senate recognizes that as an institution which is expected to be giving its own credible generated evidences for the purposes of policy making in that country. I trust and believe today it's an informal document. We are submitting. It may not be, but the day is not far when the policy makers realize their limitations, that ultimately they will also require appropriate experimental data and they will also need informational planks from credible sources. The credible sources would be a venture like this. The credible sources will be the initiative like this. And therefore, I am visualizing that arena when this will be considered as an institutional effort by you and your team for the purposes of generating credible evidence in the domain of whatever areas you choose and influencing the entire process of policy making. Let us make, therefore, not white papers. Permit me to say so. If I am to declare, I will be declaring this as a referral document to the policy makers for the purposes of articulating the best out of it in the larger public interest. And that referral report can be designated as a blueprint provided for the purposes of initiative of policy making. It's in that context, ladies and gentlemen, I am wanting to seek your consent and the consent of the learned dignitaries on the dais to be transferring or declaring this white paper to be a referral document for the various policy makers to undertake their onuses and dispensation of their responsibilities in larger public interest. There are many concerns, ladies and gentlemen. There are various forums, there are various contours which can be put across, and there is no point in crisscrossing each other. Let us salute this venture, and let us trust and believe that this initiative which has been undertaken stands consolidated in times to come, and really institutionalization of connotation that is required to be generated comes out of this particular venture in a longer way. Hence, once again, I, on my own behalf and on behalf of all of you, I am wanting to resolve that yes, Mr. Mahendra Bajpayee and his entire team definitely need salutations for this notable venture which they have been in a position to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Now I request Dr. Geetika Sareen, the organizing secretary of the Second National Convention on Medicine and Law 2016, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the dais and all the people who have come here today. I would like to propose a vote of thanks. Thank you all of you for coming today. Thank you.
Sir. Sir, आइए. Sir, please.
Come. The architects have to be there.
Sir.
क्लोज हो गया सर, थोड़ा क्लोज. 10 से भी क्लोज हो गया.